casual sex. Casual sex is a sexual activity that takes place outside of a romantic relationship and implies the absence of commitment, emotional intimacy, and familiarity between sexual partners. The examples of sexual sex are prostitution, swinging, one-night stands, hookups. Is casual sex bad? I will surely answer this question, but first I'd like to refer to a research that was conducted, I believe, in 2013 and was published. It's the most famous article on casual sex, the most famous research, conducted by Zhana Vrangalova, a doctor of psychology. So she monitored students throughout the whole academic year. She divided them in 3 groups: people who never hooked up, people who hooked up at least once or more for good reasons, and for bad reasons. So bad reasons or non-autonomous reasons are when you hook up with someone wanting something in return, some sort of material reward or revenge, or when you're hoping that this will lead to a long-term relationship. Usually it does not. When you feel bad about yourself and try to feel better by engaging in a hookup, or being intoxicated, or somehow not really wanted to have a hookup but somehow tricked in it. Usually it happens under the influence of drugs and mostly alcohol. And so good reasons are when you genuinely believe that sexual experience is an important experience to have. Your sexual being, you want to explore your sexuality, so those are good reasons. So what she has found that people who hooked up for bad reasons experienced higher levels of anxiety and depression at the end of the year, and they suffered from the lowest self-esteem out of all those 3 groups. People who hooked up for good reasons showed the highest level of self-esteem and the same levels of depression and anxiety as the first group, of students who never hooked up. So she concluded that it's not so much whether you have a hookup or not, it's the motivation behind it. So motivation, well-being link holds true for almost everything in our lives, right? Take a dramatic event as killing. You can kill someone, right? It's a bad thing, but wait a second. Well, if you kill someone because you are protecting your family, someone invaded in your house and tried to kill you and your family, you will kill that person, and you're not going to feel bad. You're going to feel great because you protected your family. But if you kill someone in order to gain something, or invade the country with no good reason to grab something that you don't, that's a whole different story. Do you agree? So Zhana says the same thing about sex. While yes, of course, there is a difference what attitude you go into having casual sex plays definitely a role, but I would say that still I disagree with her that it's okay and fine to have casual sex as long as the motivation is okay. Why? Because it's impossible to disentangle sex from emotional life, and for that matter any kind of life, the rest of life, your psychological life, social life, values, family, even political life. So birth control was invented since 1960. That's when women said, oh, now I can have sex without consequences. I can have sex without reproduction. So let's see, it's been 60 years since then, so let's see what has it gotten us. The free sex, what has it gotten us? So the family rate, the divorce rate before 1950 was about 3 to 5%. Now it's over 50%. What does this mean? This means broken families, broken homes, broken children's hearts, unhealthy adults as a result of that. We have the highest suicide rate since World War II right now in the US. so many people are on antidepressants right now because they cannot handle their emotions, which is the result of childhood traumas. So they can feel it, they've been suppressing it all their life. Now they suppress it with chemicals. And this leads to suicide. You forget to take a pill, your whole world goes, your mind goes crazy, you commit to suicide. What does it have to do with sex? Everything, because sex is central to all it is. We come into this lifetime, we come into this physical experience through sex. Now, it's a mysterious thing. We don't really know what orgasm is. When you experience orgasm, it's so powerful. It's the most powerful experience on this planet Earth. You literally lose yourself. You lose your identity completely. It feels as though that you merge with something higher than yourself. It's so powerful. So when you reduce sex and you say, oh, it's just sex, it's never just sex. You reduce a person because you're having sex with someone. So you reduce that person to just that sexual transaction, interaction, where it's not just sex, it's the whole universe, emotional, mental, there's shadow involved through sex all the time. It's all infused together. So you dismiss all other aspects about that person and you just want the sex. And so the same thing happens to you. Now, women usually, they have harder time to disentangle emotions from sex than men. Men are more successful at that, but not all men. And not all men are successful at that. But yes, we know that women are more, their emotions are more enthralled with their sexuality, as it should be, and I'm not even talking about consequences of the STDs, right? That's already complicated enough. Pregnancies, you still can get pregnant and you can still get an STD while wearing a condom, and you know that, or if you don't know that, you can. So when you reduce something so powerful as sexual experience to just sex, and you disentangle for your emotional intimacy, you corrupt yourself. Some people are able to do that. So you corrupt yourself in the long run. And you hurt other people on the way. Unfortunately, nowadays, media in Hollywood, what do they tell us? They tell us, oh, casual sex, especially for women, it's empowering. Let's take Samantha Jones from Sex and the City. While it's a very clever show and it tells you about great values about female friendship that is very touching and endearing in that show, it also promotes promiscuous sex, right? So let's take Samantha Jones. It's a woman who has been hurt by a man, betrayed by a man. So she decided to suppress her feelings, her emotional life, and to just have sex like a man with many different partners, just for her own pleasure. Now, remember, Samantha Jones is a character created by gay guys. Samantha Jones is not a real person. The problem is that little girls from broken families, once again, from not having any structure, what's right and what's wrong, look at that, and who am I to say that for a second? I spent all my 20s and 30s living in Manhattan, in New York City, mingling. I could live in Brooklyn, Queens, but I would hang out in Manhattan, in music industry. I had so many men coming my way. I had so many women that I talked to. I lived the life of Sex and the City. I've observed it. I've analyzed it. I've learned from my mistakes, and that's what I've learned. You cannot divorce sex from your emotional intimacy, and if you can, you become cold and disconnected and depressed later on. When you integrate your sexual life into the rest of your life, you will discover long-term thriving. I love what Jordan Peterson said about casual sex. Casual sex is a demented adolescent's fantasy. Casual sex is a demented adolescent's fantasy that does not transfer into real world that well at all. By the way, I'm thinking of Hollywood, the same thing. They romanticize prostitution. Pretty Woman. How many girls wanted to be Julia Roberts' Pretty Woman and meet her billionaire? How many times does this happen in real life? Maybe tiny percent. And even though we don't know what happened to Julia Roberts' character in Pretty Woman, it was cut right then when they got back together with Richard Gere. Most of prostitutes, they die by the end of 50, and they have to numb their unhappiness with drugs and alcohol, and they're dead by the age of 50. The same thing with criminals, right? Hollywood romanticized criminals, also drug barons. So all those, because it seems so cool on the screen, right? Because they show us complex characters, and we're drawn to them. And there is, there are guns and there's school shootings. This does not transfer into real life. The same thing with sex. Casual sex is empowering. Well, I'll tell you what. Fear of intimacy is often disguised as sexual sex. Fear of intimacy is disguised by sexual sex. Am I saying the right thing? So, my worthy ones, I want you to be worthy. And to be worthy, you have to know your self-worth and self-value, and integrate your sexuality into the rest of your life. And if you're still planning to engage in casual sex, I want you to ask yourself this question. If I'm willing to establish this habit of having casual sex, something that's so powerful, like nothing else, so powerful, probably the most powerful thing on earth. Because what are orgasms? Orgasms, we know that scientifically that we produce oxytocins, our bodies produce oxytocins, right, that make us want to pair bond together. We suppress that when we have casual sex. But also, orgasm is something that you lose your identity completely, as though you merge with something higher than yourself. So I want you to ask yourself this question. Once I establish this habit of having casual sex, where else does this transfer into the rest of my life? What else am I casual about? What are other important things that I am casual about? Your desires matter. Other people's desires matter. Your emotional life matters in order to thrive and be healthy. Other people's emotional life matters in order to thrive and be healthy. Be mindful, kind, and conscientious. Subscribe, ring the bell. I will see you in my next video.